You're awake at 3 a.m. because your liver is doing something most people have never been told about. Tonight, we open the 3 a.m. Liver Heist file. When your liver runs out of overnight fuel, it starts breaking down your own muscle tissue and converting it to sugar, just to keep you alive. I call that biological asset liquidation, not fat burning, muscle harvesting. Your body is literally robbing itself to pay the bill. You aren't anxious, you're being robbed. This is the end result of something that's been building in your body for years. Your liver is the crime scene, and tonight we find out who's responsible. Your cells have been exposed to too much sugar for too long. They start refusing to let any more in. The result? Your liver can't store fuel properly. Your blood sugar crashes at 3 a.m., your body panics, you wake up. If you don't understand what's driving this, your body is heading for a complete energy system shutdown. If you're a woman today, there's a good chance you've been blamed for how your body feels. Tired, gaining weight, waking at 3 a.m. in a panic, anxious. Tonight, we find who actually started this fire. I call that person the arsonist, the real cause. Not your adrenals, not anxiety, not getting older. The paper trail leads to a Harvard laboratory in 1967 and a Goldman Sachs financial report in 2018. The receipts are published. The evidence is documented. The medical system's been treating the smoke. Tonight we find the fire. By the end of tonight, 12 receipts, a real repair solution, 8 questions for your next doctor's appointment, and 4 doors to your next step. Stop the video now, download my free 90-day cellular repair guide. The link is in the description. Open it to section 1, page 5, the cascade effect diagram. That's your map for tonight. Every time I name a term, write it in the margins. Your doctor has a clinical word for the same thing. When you've written it down, you'll know exactly what they mean and what they're actually skipping. Good. Now we open the file. Between 1 and 3 in the morning, your liver is supposed to be doing its most important work of the day. I call the liver the warehouse, your body's primary storage and processing center. It holds your overnight fuel, processes your hormones, filters waste, and builds what your body needs while you sleep. When the warehouse is overloaded, none of those jobs get done on schedule. A healthy warehouse during that 1 to 3 a.m. window is clearing today's waste, holding your blood sugar steady, breaking down spent hormones, and making the proteins your body needs for tomorrow. When it can't do those jobs, everything that depends on it collapses in sequence. That collapse has a name. I call it the cascade effect. One thing goes wrong and it knocks down the next thing over until a liver fuel problem ends up as a 3 a.m. panic attack your doctor calls anxiety. Not 7 separate problems, one problem with 7 consequences. Here's exactly how it runs. Follow each step. Domino 1, the fuel strike. Your liver's overnight fuel tank runs dry, usually between 1 and 3 a.m. This is the starting point. Every domino that follows is a consequence of this single moment. Domino 2, the warehouse signal. Your liver sends an emergency alert. Fuel's gone. Find another source immediately. Domino 3, the cortisol rescue. Now your adrenal glands respond to that signal and release cortisol to trigger an emergency process, breaking down your own muscle tissue to make glucose. This is the biological asset liquidation. Your body is literally harvesting itself. Domino 4, the thermal emergency. The cortisol surge raises your core body temperature, and your brain reads it as a systemic emergency, a full body threat. Medicine calls this a hot flush, a night sweat, or anxiety. None of those labels explain what triggered it. Domino 5, the wake up. Now you snap awake, heart pounding, mind already racing before you even opened your eyes. Domino 6, the anxiety spiral. The cortisol is flooding your system. Your mind does what a stress hormone tells it to do, generate worst case thoughts, not because something's wrong in your life, because your liver ran out of fuel. Domino 7, the wrong diagnosis. Now you go to the doctor. Blood tests come back normal. You're told you have anxiety, given a sleeping tablet, or it's just perimenopause. The cascade is never investigated. Domino 1 is never addressed. Not one of those treatments touches Domino 1. The cascade runs again tonight. They treat the smoke alarm. The arsonist never gets caught. Okay, now we know what's happening inside your body. The Dominoes showed us the biological crime scene, but what we don't know yet is who lit the match. The receipts I'm about to show you are the paper trail that identifies the syndicate, the coordinated network of financial interests that created the conditions your body is suffering inside right now. Not one bad actor, a system. Every receipt is documented, published scientific studies, financial reports, public government records, not opinions, not theories, a case file. Here's receipt number 1, the furnace fraud. The model your doctor uses to explain why you can't lose weight, calories in, calories out, was invented in 1824 to measure the energy output of a steam engine, not a human body, a steam engine. That machine had no liver, no hormones, no cortisol spike at 3 a.m. A steam engine can't develop chronic glucose overload. It cannot experience a thermal emergency. It cannot perform a biological asset liquidation on its own muscle tissue. Using a 200-year-old steam engine model to explain a woman's biology is not outdated. It's a fundamental failure of the system. Receipt number 2, the sugar mafia bribe. In 1967, the sugar industry paid Harvard scientists, the most respected researchers in the world, the equivalent of about $50,000 in today's money, to publish a study that cleared sugar of any link to heart disease and blamed animal fat instead. The funding was hidden from readers when it was published in the New England Journal of Medicine. The documents stayed buried for 50 years, discovered and published in 2016. The result? 5 decades of eat less fat. Sugar consumption tripled, fatty liver disease exploded. And the dietary guidelines your doctor follows today, they were built on research funded by the very people selling the product those guidelines should have warned you about. Receipt number 3, the warehouse clutter. When the sugar bribe worked, when the guidelines said eat less fat, not less sugar, sugar consumption tripled. That sugar had to go somewhere. It went to your liver. Your liver converts excess sugar into fat and stores it inside itself. 1 in 3 adults globally has non-alcoholic fatty liver disease right now. That is the direct consequence of guidelines written by scientists on the sugar industry payroll. A liver packed with fat can't hold the overnight blood sugar line. When 2 a.m. arrives, it finds a warehouse that's already full, clogged, unable to respond. The cortisol rescue fires, the cascade runs. That is what's waking you up. Receipt number 4, the thermal emergency. Now, the fat-packed liver from receipt number 3, built by 5 decades of the sugar bribe's dietary fallout, here's what it does to your body temperature in the middle of the night. When the liver can't complete its overnight temperature regulation, your hypothalamus, part of your brain, reads the rising core temperature as a full system threat and fires cortisol. You wake up drenched in sweat, heart racing, mind spiraling. What does medicine call this? A hot flush, a night sweat, anxiety. None of those labels traces it back to a $50,000 payment made in 1967. They address the alarm, not the fire. Receipt number 5, the adrenal frame-up. 5 decades of high sugar dietary guidelines created chronic blood sugar instability. And when blood sugar crashes repeatedly, your adrenal glands are the ones called in to deal with it. Your adrenal glands aren't the problem. They're the fire department. Adrenal fatigue, cortisol imbalance, stress hormone dysregulation, all real, but the adrenals are responding to a crisis they didn't create. The arsonist is glucose. Excess blood sugar overwhelming the fuel system. The adrenals are just arriving at the scene. When you spend years treating the adrenals without addressing the fuel system underneath, you're just managing the consequences of a fire that started in a Harvard laboratory in 1967. Receipt number 6, the ghost receptors. Here's the final stop on the chain that was started by the 1967 sugar bribe. Not just a clogged liver, not just disrupted temperature, now the receptor sites themselves start shutting down. Receptor sites on your cells are supposed to receive hormonal signals, but when the liver is chronically overloaded by excess sugar, Hormone residue blocks the receptor doors. I call these ghost receptors. Think of it like this. Someone is sending you messages, but your phone has been switched to a dead number. A signal is being sent. Nothing gets through. Your blood test says your hormones are normal, but they're not reaching the cells. That is why prescribed progesterone sometimes feel like it's doing nothing. Normal on paper, but your cells tell a different story. All of it traceable. Warehouse clutter, thermal emergency, adrenal frame-up, ghost receptors, all back to a $50,000 payment made to 3 scientists in 1967. Your doctor might say hormone resistance or symptoms persist despite normal levels. That is ghost receptors. Receipt number 7, the lifelong subscriber model. The most financially valuable patient in the current system is one who comes back every few months, needs a new prescription to manage the side effects of the last one, and never actually gets better. A patient who is cured is a customer who stops coming. Goldman Sachs documented this as a formal financial concern in 2018, which is exactly what the next receipt proves. Most doctors generally want to help, but they work inside a system that is financially built to reward ongoing management over root cause resolution. So if you've been told your condition is chronic and lifelong, ask who benefits from that being true. Now look, you'll never hear a doctor say lifelong subscriber model, but you will recognize it the next time you're told your condition is lifelong without anyone investigating what's actually causing it. Receipt number 8, the Goldman Sachs confession. In 2018, Goldman Sachs published a research report asking their clients one very specific question. Is curing patients a sustainable business model? Their case study was Gilead Sciences, which had developed a hepatitis C treatment that cured over 90% of patients. Goldman's concern? Revenue peaked at $12.5 billion, then collapsed to under $4 billion. That collapse because the patients ran out, because they were healed. Goldman Sachs put it in writing. A cure was a problem for the business model. This is a published financial document, even reported by CNBC and CBS. Now you understand why no one's investigated the source of your 3 a.m. wake up. Receipt number 9, the dietary guidelines corruption. Every year, the US government publishes dietary guidelines that tell hundreds of millions of people what to eat. Your doctor follows them. Your children's schools serve food that meets them. The problem? 19 out of 20 members of those advisory committees, 95%, had documented financial ties to Kellogg, Kraft, General Mills, and Danone. Now, these are not rumours. This is published, peer-reviewed research documenting the conflicts of interest. The guidelines that shape what you eat and what your doctor recommends were written by people on the food industry payroll. The lifelong subscriber model operating at national policy level. Receipt number 10, the Ozempic muscle heist. The 2025 Courage trial found that between 35 and 40% of all weight lost on semaglutide, Ozempic, Wegovy, was not fat. It was lean muscle tissue. That means for every 2 kilograms of total weight lost, roughly 1 kilogram is muscle. Muscle is the primary tissue in your body fat that clears blood sugar. When you lose muscle, you make blood sugar regulation worse, not better. The drug prescribed to treat a metabolic problem is, in 35 to 40% of its weight loss effect, accelerating the very problem it was prescribed to solve. This is biological asset liquidation by prescription. The research is published, the prescriptions are at record highs, and as of 2025, so are the class action lawsuits. Thousands of cases consolidated in federal court, primarily for stomach paralysis caused by the drug. Now we have a dedicated investigation coming on this. Link will be in the description when it drops. Receipt 11, the 50-year thyroid cover-up. In 2025, Frontiers in Endocrinology published this. The TSH-T4 paradigm has distorted medical practice and research for 50 years. The TSH test, the single blood test your doctor orders to check your thyroid, has been the standard since the 1970s. Their own journal is now saying it's been producing inaccurate results for half a century. TSH cannot tell you if your thyroid hormone is converting into its active form, if receptor sites are responding, or if a backup hormone called reverse T3 is blocking the system. You can have a perfect TSH and be functionally hypothyroid in every cell of your body. That is ghost receptors, confirmed in their own journal. 50 years of women sent home with, your thyroid is fine. And we come to receipt 12, the Gilead proof of motive. When Gilead's hepatitis C cure proved too effective, 90% success rate, their revenue collapsed from 12.5 to under 4 billion. The patients ran out because they were healed. Goldman Sachs used this as a warning to biotech investors. Don't build your business around cures. Design treatments for ongoing use. This is documented evidence of what happened when a company accidentally cured too many people. That 3 a.m. panic attack, labelled as your anxiety for years, it's not a mystery. That's a deliberately under-investigated cascade effect running in the body of a woman who has never been given the right map until tonight. Now, your body's not broken. It's working exactly as designed inside an environment that's been broken around it. The repair is not about chasing individual symptoms. It's about restoring the terrain, the operating environment of your cells. Fix the terrain and the body starts doing what it was always built to do. Instead of asking what drug fixes this symptom, we ask, what does the liver need to function overnight? What does the fuel system need to stop crashing? What do the receptor sites need to start receiving signals again? We do this in 3 phases. Phase 1, the first and most important fix, overnight blood sugar stability. Your liver needs a specific fuel store it can draw on slowly through the night. When that store is built correctly, domino 1 never falls. The cascade never starts. A protein-forward evening meal with the right slow-burning carbohydrate, eaten at the right time, gives the warehouse its overnight supply. So turn to section 4 of your free guide, phase 1 and 2. That's your food framework. Start there tonight. This brings us to phase 2. The second target is the warehouse itself. When the liver is congested with fat, it can't process overnight hormones, regulate temperature, or produce the bile your body needs to absorb fat-soluble nutrients. The repair pathway focuses on 3 things: improving bile flow, supporting the liver's 2-phase detoxification process, and rebuilding liver cell energy capacity. This corresponds to phase 2 in section 4 of your guide. It's called the Rebuild Foundation. And finally, phase 3. This targets the ghost receptors. My clinical stem cell nutrition protocol rebuilds the receptor infrastructure of your cells from the cell membrane up, restoring the sensitivity of your hormone, glucose, and cortisol receptor sites. These are the foundational nutrients. Without them, no therapy, medication, or lifestyle change really holds. That is phase 3 in section 4 of your guide. It's called the Add Acceleration. And now keep the guide open because later I'll show you how to choose your path. So everything I've shown you tonight is published. Sugar industry, Harvard payout. Goldman Sachs questioning whether curing patients is financially viable. 95% of the Dietary Guidelines Committee with industry funding conflicts. 35 to 40% of Ozempic weight loss being lean muscle. The TSH T4 paradigm distorting medical practice for 50 years. None of this is fringe. None of this is alternative medicine. It's just inconvenient for a system that earns more from you staying sick than from you getting well. That is why nobody showed it to you until tonight. Okay, we come to the 8 sovereign subpoenas. A subpoena is simply a legal document that compels a response. These are the clinical equivalents. And do not accept normal as a complete answer. Normal is an average built on a population that is already largely unwell. You want optimal, not average. Here's subpoena number 1. I wake up at 3 a.m. with my heart racing and I can't get back to sleep. I want to see what my cortisol is doing at midnight, 3 a.m., 8 a.m., not just a morning reading. That's when my symptoms happen and I need it measured at that time. Subpoena number 2. I want my fasting glucose tested alongside my blood sugar. I've learned that blood sugar can look completely normal while insulin is already dangerously high. I need to see both numbers to understand whether my fuel system is already in trouble. Subpoena number 3. I want more than just a TSH test. I want free T3, free T4, and reverse T3. A journal called Frontiers in Endocrinology said in 2025 that TSH alone has been giving distorted results for 50 years. I need to see whether my thyroid hormone is actually reaching my cells. If you won't order this, I'd like a referral to someone who will. Subpoena 4. I'd like to see my ALT, AST, and GGT results trended over at least the last 5 years, not just today's snapshot. One result tells me where I am, 5 years tells me which direction I'm heading. Subpoena 5. For every result today, can you tell me what the optimal range looks like for a healthy woman in my age group? Not just the general reference range, which includes people who are already unwell. I want to know if I'm actually thriving, not just above the threshold for intervention. Subpoena 6. I want a Dutch hormone panel, not just a serum estrogen level. I need to understand how my body is actually processing and clearing its hormones, not just what's circulating in my blood at one point in time. Standard serum estrogen can't show me whether my liver is clearing hormones efficiently or whether my receptor sites are responding. If you can't order this, I need a referral to someone who can. Subpoena number 7. Every medication I take has a documented list of nutrients it depletes over time. I'd like a written review of what my current prescriptions are stripping from me, especially anything affecting my energy, sleep, or receptor function. If you can't provide that, I'd like a referral to a practitioner who can. Subpoena 8. I'm really not here today for a diagnosis name. I'm here for the cause. I want to understand what is going wrong first in the chain, the upstream driver of my symptoms, what is actually failing, and what would fixing that first do to everything downstream. Now, those 8 questions are your first act of sovereignty. Rewind, take screenshots or download the transcript and bring them with you. Now I want to give you a solution that matches exactly where you are right now. Open your guide to section 8. I think it's on page 11. This is where Sherlocks choose their next step. Your rank from this moment forward is Sherlock, a sovereign detective who masters their own biology to solve their metabolic case and reclaim their health. Not a passive patient waiting for answers. An investigator who knows the evidence, understands the language, and demands accountability. Okay, go to the 90-day reset scorecard on page 10 of your guide. Rate each area from 1 to 10. Do it weekly. Stop guessing what's wrong. Start tracking it. This is where you build the evidence base for your own case. Door 2, the acceleration pathway. Go to section 8 on page 12. Click the link Cellular Repair Support. This is where we add clinical stem cell nutrition to your repair environment. It's like oiling the hinges of your biology. It is phase 3 of the receptor restoration. Door 3, the private case review. Click my booking link in the description to have a reset conversation with me directly. This is for you if you recognize yourself in the evidence today, but don't know where to start, or if you've tried everything and nothing is held. We will find the statistical fences keeping you stuck. That's the dangerous gap between normal on a lab test and actually being healthy. If you want the full breakdown on reference ranges and why normal is not the same as well, that's covered in depth in the pathology scandal video. The link is in the description. And finally, door 4. Next week, we open the insulin heist file. We go after the primary arsonist, the one who has been filling your liver with fat and running this whole operation from the inside. High blood sugar and its accomplice, insulin. The silent driver behind everything you saw in tonight's Dominoes. So everything I showed you tonight, the 12 receipts, the repair protocol, the 8 questions, the 4 doors, that's just the opening chapter. We've barely opened the file. So download the guide if you haven't already. The link is in the description. Your body's repair starts tonight, not when the next file drops. So you're not anxious, you're not broken, you're not just getting older. You're a woman whose biology has never been properly investigated. Tonight that changed. I'm Nineveh Daniel, the Cellular Detective, and I'll see you in the next file.